Hey, my friends, what is happening on this Friday? Hope you're all doing well. I know I'm doing. I'm smoking this little Italian, let's call it a pipe, because I don't know what the shape of it is or anything. Lovely little pipe that smokes wonderfully. And in it, I've got some old Joe Krantz, which I enjoy very much. Today's question brought to you by Diamond Brand Matches, because it's all I had. I could go on and on and on with this question, and I probably will. But it's what song hits you with a wave of nostalgia every time you hear it? Takes you back to a particular place or thing that happened or person or whatever. I've got a number of them. I've chosen 3, but man, this list could be 5 videos long. First one is Merle Haggard, Today I Started Loving You Again. Every time I hear that, and that's one of my favorite Merle Haggard songs, probably for the same reason that it takes me back. It was one of my dad's favorite Merle Haggard songs, and he used to sing it, play guitar and sing, and picking and grinning and all that good stuff. And his voice sounds a lot like Merle Haggard when he sings. He had that same tone, that same timbre, that, I don't know how to describe it, but if you're a Merle Haggard fan, you know what I mean. He's got somewhat of a unique voice. My dad sounds a lot like him. But he would pick up his guitar and start singing that song, and I would just be fascinated. I mean, this is when I was a little kid, on up to, when I was a teenager. I'd still sit and listen to him sing and play. But that song always plops me right down in the floor in front of him, playing his guitar. And it always will. Then when I got a little older, started getting into music myself, started appreciating it a lot. Something happened that forever changed, I think, my musical journey. I think I would have been a fan of music, like the average person is. But when this event happened, it just sucked me into the music world. And so this was in 1980, and the Beatles had only been broken up for 10 years at this point. And they still played a number of their songs in fairly regular rotation on the radio. And I don't mean like, the 5 or 6 songs that you hear now. You could hear stuff like I Feel Fine, and the Ballad of John and Yoko, and Magical Mystery Tour. You still heard that fairly regularly on the radio. And those are, somewhat deep cuts. When John Lennon died, 5 days before my 13th birthday. And it just grabbed my attention like nothing ever had, I think. We had a local radio station, Way Radio, WAAY, 50,000 watts of power. And they played the entire Beatles catalog the day after he died. I'll say the weekend after he died. I don't remember what day it was on. But the Saturday after he died. And I recorded the whole thing. Cassette tape. I popped one cassette tape in after another. Some of the songs were half on side A and half on side B, and but I recorded it all and I listened to it all, and it was a number of hours. I mean, they had, at least US releases, I think they had 13 albums at that point, or ever, not including the greatest hits and stuff like that. But when they played Let It Be, there was something about that song that tied me to the Beatles. It was like their swan song to me. It was like the finale, tip their hats, walk off the stage, never to be heard from again kind of song. And it was just very meaningful. Every time I hear that song, it takes me back to that weekend, really. And it's not my favorite Beatles song. It's not even my favorite Beatles song on that album. But it's a great song. And for some reason, more than any other Beatles song, that's the one that pulls me in and takes me back to a particular place. Then fast forward probably 4 or 5 years later, I was in high school. My girlfriend was taking a photography class, and a project she had to do was put together a photo slideshow, and it had to have music behind it, and she had to turn in the lyrics of the song to the teacher. Well, in 1984, 1985, whenever it was, unless you owned the album or cassette, and unless it had the lyrics printed, you had to figure them out for yourself. There was no internet. She had a tape, Simple Minds, and the song was Don't You Forget About Me, and she couldn't figure out the lyrics of this one part. I believe it's the second verse. So she figured I would be able to divine the lyrics. So I popped the tape in, listened to it, and I was like, what is he saying there? What is he saying? So it wasn't CD where you could skip back 3 seconds and listen to it over and over and over and over and over and over again. You had to stop the tape, rewind it, often past the spot or not to the spot, and it was just kind of a pain in the butt. I listened to that probably 35 or 40 times before I finally put it together in my head what he was saying. And if you want to go listen to it, it's the second verse where the line starts, "Don't you try and pretend." That's the line that follows that was so hard for me to figure out. So if you want to pause and go listen to it and then come back, that's acceptable. But what he says is, "Don't you try and pretend, it's my feeling we'll win in the end." And I became so well acquainted with that song over the course of hours. Every time it comes on, it takes me back to sitting in front of that cassette player, rewind and rewind and rewind every single time. So those are three of mine. What songs take you back and why? Where does it take you back to? I'd be very interested to know. As always, you can find this song in the playlist discussion questions, along with a bunch of videos that are also there. And that's all I got for this one. So you guys enjoy your pipe, ignore the hype, and let a song take you back somewhere and tell us what it is.